Nestled amidst rolling hills, Clearbrook was a village of simple charm. Its inhabitants led quiet lives, their days filled with routine and familiarity. Among them lived Ewan, a man known for his keen eye. But his gaze, instead of seeking beauty, fixated on flaws. A misplaced stone on a cobbled path, a crookedly hung painting, an unevenly baked loaf of bread. Nothing escaped Ewan's critical eye. Ewan's observations were not born of malice, but rather a deep-seated skepticism. Life had taught him to expect the worst, to believe that kindness was an illusion of ulterior motive. His words, often laced with sarcasm and a hint of bitterness, served as a shield, protecting him from disappointment. He whispered,
"Have you noticed how careless Adeline is with the garden? I think she ruined the harvest. And Henry, so full of himself, always dismissing others' ideas."
The villagers were accustomed to his cynical nature. Even though they accepted him as he was, their interactions had resignation. One sunny afternoon, as Ewan sat by his window, his gaze sweeping over the village square, he noticed a flurry of activity. A caravan had arrived, its brightly coloured wagons a stark contrast to the muted tones of Clearbrook. Curiosity piqued. Ewan watched as the villagers gathered around, their faces alight with anticipation. Among them stood a young woman, her dress dusted with the journey and her pack slung over her shoulder. Her beauty was simple yet enchanting. Her features were soft and graceful, her dark hair flowing like a river of night under the moon, and her eyes brimmed with kindness. Her name was Arya, and she had come to Clearbrook seeking a fresh start. Arya's arrival in Clearbrook was like a breath of fresh air. Her laughter, as bright and clear as a mountain stream, seemed to chase away the shadows that had settled over the village. She had a kind word for everyone, her smile as warm and inviting as the midday sun. Arya wasted no time in becoming an integral part of the community. She helped the baker knead dough, her hands moving with a gentle rhythm. She taught the children how to weave flowers into intricate patterns, her voice filled with patience and encouragement. She listened intently to the stories of the elderly, her eyes reflecting their wisdom and experience. Ewan observed Arya from a distance, his skepticism battling with a newfound curiosity. He couldn't understand her unwavering optimism, her ability to find joy in the simplest of things. It was as if she possessed a secret, a key to a world he had long shut himself off from. He found himself drawn to her, his eyes following her every move. He eavesdropped on her conversations, his ears straining to catch every word. The more he learned about Arya, the more intrigued he became. One late afternoon, Ewan found himself walking beside her by the river. The air was fragrant with wildflowers, the water shimmering with the last light of the day. Ewan's voice quieter than usual.
"Your kindness is a gift. The village feels alive since you came."
Arya smiled, her eyes glowing like stars in a midnight sky. She whispered,
"Kindness is like magic, Ewan. It lives in everyone. You see it in me because it's waiting to bloom in you too."
As she placed a gentle hand in his hands, Ewan's heart quickened. Her touch was soft, her presence comforting in a way he couldn't quite understand. The two began spending more time together, and a quiet romance bloomed. Arya's presence began to have a subtle yet profound effect on Ewan, her kindness chipping away at his defenses, slowly but surely. He found himself smiling more often, his laughter less forced. He began to notice the beauty around him, the vibrant colors of the wildflowers that dotted the hillsides, the intricate patterns of the clouds that drifted across the sky. He even started to find a certain charm in the imperfections he had once ridiculed. Ewan's transformation did not go unnoticed by the villagers. For the first time in a long time, they saw a glimmer of something different in Ewan, a flicker of warmth beneath his gruff exterior. However, with this newfound awareness came a sense of unease. Ewan had always prided himself on his ability to see through facades, to remain detached and objective. But Arya's genuine nature threatened his carefully constructed walls, forcing him to confront emotions he had long suppressed. As Ewan's admiration for Arya grew, so did a strange fear within him. He feared losing himself in the warmth of her presence, feared that his carefully constructed world of cynicism would crumble around him. He felt an overwhelming need to find a flaw in Arya, to prove to himself that she was not as perfect as she seemed. His search for imperfections in Arya became an obsession. He scrutinized her every word and action, searching for a hint of insincerity, a flicker of doubt. He watched her interactions with others, hoping to catch her in a moment of weakness, a display of selfishness. Yet, blinded by his fear, Ewan mistook her unwavering positivity for naivete, her compassion for weakness. He convinced himself that she was deliberately ignoring the harsh realities of the world, choosing to live in a bubble of her own making. He mumbled to himself,
She's not as wise as she seems. Perhaps she hides her true self behind that charm.
The whispers in his mind became whispers in the village. He told the neighbors,
Arya isn't who you think she is. She uses her magic to deceive us.
Slowly, the harmony Arya had brought began to unravel, replaced by doubt and mistrust. Heartbroken by the sudden coldness around her, Arya decided to leave. One morning, with tears in her eyes, she packed her belongings and walked away from the village. The warmth that had once filled the air with her presence seemed to vanish, leaving the village colder, quieter, less alive. The villagers soon realized the truth. Arya had not sown discord, Ewan had. They gathered in the square to confront him. You drove her away with your lies, they said. We were better with her here. Now we want you to leave. Before Ewan could speak, a familiar voice rang out. Arya stood at the edge of the square, her gaze steady despite the pain in her heart. Word of their plea had reached her, and though she had every reason to stay away, she returned. Arya spoke softly.
Do not cast him out. Ewan has made mistakes, but even in his darkness there is a chance for light. Let him learn, let him change.
Humbled by her kindness, Ewan fell to his knees, his voice trembling.
I don't deserve your forgiveness. I let my mind twist your goodness into something wicked, and I pushed away the love between us. Can you ever forgive me?
Arya knelt beside him and placed a hand on his shoulder.
Forgiveness is not a gift, Ewan. It is a choice we make every day. Start by seeing the magic in others, and one day you may find it in yourself.
From that day, Ewan worked to change. His mind still wrestled with its old habits, but Arya's belief in him gave him strength. One evening, as the stars glittered above, Ewan approached her by the river. He said softly,
Arya, I can never undo the hurt I caused you, but I will spend my life trying to be worthy of the light you saw in me.
She looked at him, her gaze soft but unreadable.
Ewan, healing is not about being worthy of someone else. It's about becoming whole within yourself.
Her words, infused with magic of deep care and kindness, struck a chord within him. They were not the answer he had hoped for, but they were the truth he needed to hear. Their eyes locked for a long moment. Something unspoken hung between them, fragile yet profound. But before Ewan could speak again, Arya turned and walked away, her silhouette disappearing into the night as she left the village behind. Whether it was a promise, a farewell, or something else entirely, Ewan never knew. At first, Ewan longed to win her back, to reclaim the magical light she once saw in him. Years passed and she did not return. Arya's presence lingered like a distant melody, her lessons shaping his every step. She had taught him the most profound truth. Healing begins from within. Though their paths never crossed again, her words stayed with him, guiding, inspiring, and reminding him that the greatest magic was the one he carried in his heart. And perhaps one day, their paths would cross again.